My jealous brother slept with my fiancée right after we got engaged. I exposed them to the whole family, and now they're being cut off. I never thought my own brother would betray me like this. I had been with Riley for almost 3 years, and we had just gotten engaged. It was supposed to be one of the happiest moments of my life. But just a day after I put a ring on her finger, she threw it all away for my brother, Adam. I am 23 years old, and Adam is 4 years older than me. We never really got along. There had always been this silent war between us, this unspoken competition that I never wanted to be a part of, yet somehow, I was always losing. He had the looks, the charm, the confidence. Me? I had always been the awkward, skinny younger brother, living in his shadow. But I never expected him to go this far. The night after our engagement, Adam hooked up with Riley. And what is worse? He wanted me to know about it. He did not even try to be discreet. He sent me messages, rubbing it in my face, as if destroying my relationship was some kind of sick game to him. When I found out, I felt like the air had been sucked out of my lungs. I was in complete shock. This was the woman I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with. She had told me just hours before how excited she was to marry me. And yet, there she was, betraying me with the one person who had always made my life miserable. I did not even give her a chance to explain. There was nothing she could say that would make this better. I texted her that it was over, blocked her number, and changed the locks on my house. She was not coming back. We had been living together for the past year, and I thought things were great between us. Clearly, I had been blind. I sat there in my empty house, trying to understand how everything had fallen apart so fast. My whole world had flipped upside down in just a matter of hours. Looking back, maybe I should have seen it coming. Riley had always been friendly toward Adam, but I never thought it was anything more than that. I figured she was just trying to be nice. After all, she knew how strained my relationship with him was. She even told me she felt bad for him sometimes. But feeling bad for someone and sleeping with them right after getting engaged are two very different things. My father died when I was just a baby, and I do not remember much about him. Adam, being older, had a few memories at least. But from the time I was little, it felt like Adam saw me as a rival rather than a brother. He was always the stronger one, the better one. He got the attention, the praise, the admiration. Our mother raised us alone, and she had enough on her plate just trying to keep food on the table and a roof over our heads. She never really had time to deal with the tension between us. And maybe, if I am being honest, she did not want to. Because, no matter how much she tried to pretend otherwise, Adam was always her favorite. It was my uncle, my dad's brother, who stepped in when I needed someone. He was the closest thing to a father figure I ever had. He showed up when Adam bullied me, encouraged me when I felt invisible, and helped me become the person I am today. But growing up, I was an insecure, lonely kid. I was not good at sports. I was not the smartest in class. I was not strong or confident. And compared to Adam, I was a nobody. I spent most of my childhood and teenage years keeping to myself, barely making friends, never really feeling like I fit in. Adam, on the other hand, thrived. He played sports. He was popular. He was the guy everyone admired. It was humiliating being his younger brother. Even if no one said it out loud, I knew they were comparing us. I could feel it. For years, I just accepted that this was the way things were. I let Adam walk all over me. My self-esteem was destroyed before I even had the chance to build it. But that changed when I left for college. I went to a school out of state where no one knew Adam, and for the first time in my life, I was not living in his shadow. I could finally be my own person. I made friends. I found my confidence. And I had my uncle to thank for it. My mother had told me she could not afford to send me to college so far away and wanted me to stay close to home. But my uncle? He made it happen. He paid for me to go. He believed in me when no one else did. I worked hard, graduated at the top of my class, and built a life I was proud of. My mother and uncle came to my graduation, but Adam? He did not even show up. I had gone to his, but I guess that did not mean much to him. By then, Adam and I barely spoke. We only saw each other on holidays and family birthdays. And honestly, that was fine with me. We were not brothers anymore, we were just two people forced to be in the same room a few times a year. A couple of years ago, Adam lost all his money. He had quit his job to start a business, but it failed. My uncle and mother bailed him out because he had racked up a ton of debt. He had to move back in with our mom for a while until he could get back on his feet. When I heard about it, I sent him a message. Even after everything, I felt bad for him. I told him I was sorry things had not worked out. He must have thought I was mocking him because he blocked me after that. He ignored me for the next few holidays. And I just stopped trying. I wish I could say things got better for Adam, but they did not. He switched jobs 7 or 8 times. He never seemed happy with anything. He looked worse every time I saw him. He was drinking more, talking less, and had this look in his eyes like he was just going through the motions. It was hard to hate someone who was already that broken. Even Riley noticed. She would mention how sad he seemed, how lost he looked. But what could we do? I guess now I know what she decided to do. 2 weeks ago, I proposed to Riley. It was at my uncle's house, during his birthday dinner. I had planned everything out. The family was there, the garden was perfect, and I had even invited her parents to show up after the proposal as a surprise. When I got down on one knee, Riley said yes. Everyone cheered. It was supposed to be the start of our future together. I did notice that Adam left almost immediately after I made the announcement. But he always left family events early, so I did not think much of it. That night, Riley and I went home. She was on her phone when I woke up in the middle of the night, but she told me she was just talking to friends about the engagement. I had no reason to doubt her. 2 days later, while I was at work, I got a message from Adam. It was unexpected, he had not spoken to me in years. But it was not just a message. It was screenshots. Messages between him and Riley. They had planned it. The night after our engagement, she had gone to his house. She had told me she was staying at her friend's place. But in reality, she was with him. And Adam, being the sick person that he is, wanted me to know. He even sent pictures of her clothes on his bed. I left work immediately, went home, changed the locks, and packed up everything she owned. I put it all outside. When Riley came home, I did not even let her in. I sent her a message telling her I knew what she did. That she was disgusting. That we were done. Then I blocked her. She showed up at my door, crying, begging for another chance. She stood outside for half an hour, sobbing, saying she had made a mistake. But I did not care. She was not coming back. And neither was my brother. After Riley left, I sat in silence, trying to process everything. My house felt empty. The woman I had planned to spend my life with had betrayed me, and my own brother was the one she had done it with. It felt surreal, like some twisted nightmare I could not wake up from. I ordered some takeout, thinking food might help settle my nerves, but I could barely eat. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. I could not shake the feeling that I needed to do something. I wanted Adam to pay for what he did. I wanted him to feel even a fraction of the pain he had caused me. But no matter how hard I thought about it, I could not come up with the perfect revenge. And then it hit me, the simplest thing to do was just to let everyone know the truth. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the screenshots Adam had so proudly sent me, and forwarded them to our entire family. I typed a short message, "This is what my dear brother Adam did to me." Then I turned off my phone and tried to sleep. I had no plan. I was not expecting any particular outcome. I did not tell anyone what to do or how to react. Whatever happened next was up to them. By the time I checked my phone the next morning, the damage had already been done. Everyone in the family had seen the messages. My phone was flooded with texts, messages of support, words of shock and disgust at Adam's behavior. Nearly everyone had blocked him and decided to cut him out of their lives. No one could believe he had done something so low. Everyone except my mother. She was the only one who did not reach out to check on me. She stayed completely silent for a few days, and honestly, that hurt more than I expected. Then, one afternoon, she showed up at my house. I could tell just by the look on her face that she was not there to comfort me. She was angry, upset, like I had somehow done something wrong. And I was right. She sat down across from me and, in a tone that was almost scolding, told me that while she understood why I was upset with Adam, I had gone too far by exposing him. She believed that I should have handled it privately instead of airing it out for the whole family to see. I could not believe what I was hearing. She went on to talk about how Adam was already struggling. He was broke, his business had failed, and he had no stable relationships. He was, as she put it, living hand to mouth. She made it sound like his life had already fallen apart, and I had just made things worse for him. She pointed out how nobody had expected me to be as successful as I am now, while Adam had once been full of promise but had lost his way. She said he had acted out of jealousy, not malice, as if that somehow excused what he had done. It felt like she was trying to justify his actions. I could not sit there and listen to it anymore. I cut her off mid-sentence and asked her point-blank, "Are you seriously telling me that it was okay for Adam to sleep with my fiancée just because his life sucks?" She hesitated, then shook her head. "No, it was not okay," she admitted, "but you need to understand where he was coming from. Maybe show him some sympathy. Forgive him." Sympathy? Forgiveness? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Adam had shattered my relationship, humiliated me, and betrayed me in the worst way possible. And now that he was facing the consequences of his actions, I was supposed to feel sorry for him? My mother kept going, telling me that being cut off from the family had devastated him. The only thing he had left was our family, and now he had lost even that. I did not care. He deserved every bit of it. But my mother did not see it that way. She thought I should be the bigger person and convince the family to give him another chance. On top of that, she wanted me to reach out to him personally, to clear the air. I lost it. I told her flat out that I was not going to do any of that. That she was crazy if she thought I would ever speak to Adam again, let alone try to repair his reputation. Then I said something I had been holding in for years. I told her that she had always favored Adam. She might not have openly admitted it, but it had always been obvious. And now, after everything he had done to me, she was still trying to defend him. I told her that if the situation had been reversed, if I had done this to Adam, she would never have tried to justify it. She would have been furious. She tried to deny it, but we both knew it was true. The conversation turned into a full-blown argument. She got angrier than I had ever seen her. In the end, she stormed out of my house, saying she would not talk to me again until I made things right with Adam. I told her not to bother coming back. It has been a few days since then. My uncle checks in on me regularly, making sure I am okay. Most of my family has been supportive. Riley, on the other hand, keeps trying to reach out. She sends messages, hoping to explain herself, begging me to talk to her. I have not responded. I have not even blocked her yet, but I know I need to. I will. The only person I have not heard from since the fight is my mother. And, to be honest, that has been the hardest part of all of this. I always knew she had a soft spot for Adam, but I never thought she would pick him over me, even after what he did. Now, I just feel lost. I am not depressed. I am not falling apart. My life is fine, all things considered. But I do not know how to move forward from here. I want my mother in my life, but how can I have a relationship with her if she refuses to see things for what they are? What do you think? Was I wrong for exposing my brother and fiancé for what they did? Update 1, the truth is out. The responses I received were overwhelming. Reading through all the comments made me realize I was not crazy for feeling the way I did. So many people reassured me that I had done the right thing, that I was not in the wrong for standing up for myself. And honestly, that meant more than I expected. For a while, I had started doubting myself. My mother's words had gotten into my head, making me question if I had gone too far. But I see things clearly now. I did not ruin Adam's life. He did that to himself. All I did was show people who he really was. I talked to my uncle about everything my mother said. I had kept it to myself at first, but I needed to hear what he thought. He was not surprised. He told me he had noticed for years that my mother treated Adam differently. She may have tried to hide it, but it was always there. She always saw him as the one with potential, my uncle said. And you? You were just the quiet one. The one nobody expected much from. But look how that turned out. That stuck with me. I had spent my whole life feeling like I was less than Adam. But in the end, I was the one who built something for myself. I was the one who worked hard and made a life I could be proud of. And Adam? Well, he made his choices. And now, he is living with them. I still have not heard from my mother. And at this point, I do not think I care anymore. Let her pick Adam. Let her defend him. I am done trying to earn her approval. My uncle told me he felt terrible about what had happened. He had seen firsthand how much I loved Riley, how serious I was about our future together. And yet, despite all that, she had not even hesitated before betraying me. She knew what she was doing. She knew how much it would hurt me. And she did it anyway. There was no fixing that. It was painful, but deep down, I knew I had dodged a bullet. Sure, I was still processing everything, and I had not completely moved on. But I would get there. And honestly, she was not my biggest concern anymore. What really hurt was my mother. I did not want to lose my relationship with her, but she had made it clear where she stood. She saw Adam as the victim, not me. She kept making excuses for him, defending him when no one else would. My uncle told me straight up that I needed to let it go. He knew my mother better than I did, and he said she was never going to admit she was wrong. If she had already decided to stand by Adam, nothing I said or did was going to change that. He also let me in on something I had not known. She had been visiting Adam almost every day since the family cut him off. That stung. I was the one who had lost my relationship, my home life, my sense of trust. I was the one who had been betrayed. And yet, it was Adam she was running to. But what could I do? I had already spent too much time trying to make sense of things that would never make sense. My uncle told me I needed to stop fighting it and just accept things for what they were. And he was right. I had tried reasoning with my mother, tried making her see what was really happening, but she did not care. She was only focused on making sure Adam was okay. So fine. Let her. Update 2, the last goodbye. It has been almost 2 weeks since I broke things off with Riley. For the first week, she kept trying to contact me. She would text every other day, begging for a chance to explain, asking me to just hear her out. Then, suddenly, the messages stopped. I guess she finally realized I was not going to change my mind. Even if she had an excuse, what could she possibly say to make it better? There is no excuse for cheating, especially not with my own brother. Yesterday, she reached out again, but this time, it was different. She was not begging for another chance. She just wanted to come by and pick up the rest of her things. And I was fine with that. This was not about emotions anymore. It was just business. I told her she could come over today since I had taken the day off anyway. Might as well get it over with. She showed up around noon. She looked awful. I could tell she had been crying a lot. Her hair was messy, her eyes were red, and for the first time since I had known her, she did not have that confident energy she always carried. But I did not say anything. I opened the door, stepped aside, and let her in. Then I sat down on the couch while she packed up whatever she had left behind. We did not speak. She did not try to explain, did not try to make small talk. And she never once looked me in the eye. When she was finished, she walked to the door and paused for a second, like she wanted to say something. But in the end, all she said was, "I am leaving now." I had so much I could have said to her. So many things I had wanted to say. But in that moment, I realized there was nothing left to say. So I just nodded and said, "Goodbye." And then she walked out of my life for good. I blocked her number a few minutes later and decided to celebrate by watching one of my favorite movies, one we used to watch together. But this time, I watched it alone. And it felt good. I still have not heard from my mother, and at this point, I do not expect to. But with every passing day, it gets easier to accept things for what they are. At least now, I know one thing for sure: she never would have taken my side. Not now, not ever. Because I am not Adam. No matter what I did, no matter how much I achieved, I was never going to be her favorite. And honestly, I am tired of trying. My uncle told me he got into an argument with her recently when he tried defending me, and she did not take it well. Now, they are not even speaking to each other. She is willing to throw away her relationships with both of us, all for Adam. It does not make sense. It never will. But that is her choice. And I am done caring. Update 3, finally free. It has been a month since I first shared my story, and looking back, I cannot believe how much time I wasted worrying about my mother's approval. But I am done with all that now. I do not care what she thinks anymore. She and Adam are the same: selfish, delusional, and completely incapable of seeing themselves as the problem. And maybe that is why they get along so well. I was just unlucky enough to be related to both of them. But not anymore. Now, I have no ties to either of them. And honestly, that is the best thing that could have happened. Because neither of them ever deserved me. Neither did Riley. I was always too good for them, and if they could not see that, then that is their loss. Not mine. I do not feel bad for what happened. I do not feel bad that the rest of the family has cut them off, that no one invites them to anything anymore. They brought this on themselves. And I could not be happier about it. Riley and I have not spoken since she came to collect her things, and I do not plan to change that. I blocked her, and most of our mutual friends did the same after finding out what really happened. The only person who has tried to reach out to me again is my mother. And even now, she still does not think she owes me an apology. It is insane. Even in our last conversation, all she could talk about was how Adam was suffering. She said he had been diagnosed with depression, that he was struggling. I told her I could give her a therapist's number if she wanted, but that was all I had to offer. I was not going to convince the family to forgive him. I was not going to pretend like what he did was okay. Then she tried to guilt-trip me. She got emotional, talking about how she had already lost her husband, and now she was losing both her sons over something so petty. Petty? She really thought this was just some minor argument. Like I should just brush it off and pretend nothing happened. But this was not about some random woman. This was my fiancée. And Adam had gone after her on purpose. He did not just hook up with her, he did it to hurt me. So no, I was not going to just get over it. And as for the rest of the family, I never forced anyone to cut ties with them. They made that choice on their own. If my mother wanted to blame someone, she needed to look in the mirror. That was the last thing I said to her before I blocked her number. Now, I can finally move on. I do not care what happens to them anymore. They can live however they want, be as miserable as they want. They are not my problem. I am free. And I am never looking back.